This is where the Sony fanboys are going to hate me. But before the Sony fanboys hate me, I will remind you I've got at least 100 videos attacking Nikon for the really stupid stuff that they do, you know? Yeah, so why don't you take that into consideration for, you just hate Sony! Shut up. Alright, shut up. This video is called, If Sony Really Wanted to Improve. And then we'll make a conclusion that absolutely destroys all of this stuff. No, it doesn't destroy it, but it makes it irrelevant. That's what I should say, actually. If Sony really wanted to be taken seriously in their cameras, because they're not. There's the camera world, but you don't understand. You may understand it, but most of you don't. There's the real camera world of all the hardcore people out there on the sidelines doing sports action wildlife, photojournalism, paparazzis. Even if you hate paparazzis, they're really good working photographers, okay? They shuffle their butt. There are those people, and there are all these idiots on the internet photography world. So there's the real working photographers out there making the money, and then there's all the talking heads on diaper review and all these stupid sites that are sniffing buttons and fondling cameras. Smells like Japan. Smells like sushi. So two totally different arenas. If Sony wanted to be taken seriously, because the professionals are not using Sony, because they have no serious glass. They're not a camera company, they're a consumer electronics company. I know Sony makes sensors. So what? Good for them. I'm glad they invested billions of dollars. By the way, this is a recent development. Sony divested, or is working on divesting, actually they're working on divesting, their sensor division from Sony Incorporated, because, you know, Sony Incorporated basically was considered, it was listed by Forbes as junk status stock in late 2015 by Forbes magazine. Sony is still not that far from bankruptcy. They're not that solvent of a company. They're trying to divest their sensor division, so if Sony goes down the toilet, they won't bring their money-making sensor division with them. Okay? If Sony wanted to be taken seriously, they should A, stop obsoleting their own damn cameras. And they've always done this in the past with their own equipment. They're following the exact same philosophy as their computers. Remember Sony used to make laptop computers? They were actually really good laptop computers. I had a couple of them. Computers and TVs and Walkmans and all that. Sony ain't making that. And Sony TVs, forget Sony TV. Remember when Sony TVs were it? Now they're nothing. Sony is nothing in computers. Sony is nothing in TV sets. Sony is nothing in laptops, Walkmans, all that stuff's gone. Stop. They're following the exact same stuff that they've always done with their consumer electronics. Oh my god, it's the latest, greatest. 9 months later, it's like, we never made that thing. You need to go out and buy the newest one. Fuji, however, for example, and I'm not comparing Sony to Fuji, but Fuji, for example, is still giving firmware updates on on old cameras that they stopped making years ago. Totally different philosophy. I've talked to someone really big at a camera company, and I ain't going to tell you which camera company it is, and he said the same thing I'm saying to you now. It's like, I know. I was on the phone with him. I was like, I know. I said these same things in my videos. He was saying the same stuff I said. Really big wig at a big camera company. Said the same thing I did. Exactly. Almost word for word. Stop obsoleting your own damn cameras. Okay? Why don't you start servicing your own cameras? You outsource everything to the most hated group of people. I'm not going to mention their name. Their Better Business Bureau rating is in the toilet. Their satisfaction star rating is in the toilet. It's the most abysmal, horrific service on earth. I'm glad you make really good point-and-shoot cameras. Sony does make good point-and-shoot cameras, but they still follow that same philosophy, but it's a point-and-shoot camera. Well, 9 months later, we've come out with a new version. They have that old thing. They never have parts for anything that they've got, if you just got, here's the amazing thing, and this is a fact. If you just buy the camera and it needs service, and it's outside of the return period, you know, so it's a couple months old, it's like, well, it's too new to have parts. And this is a brilliant philosophy, but it's also BS. Listen closely. It's too new, so it has no parts. But if you wait for it to have parts, which it never does, it's, 6, 7, 8 months later, it's like, well, that camera's obsolete. We're not making parts for that anymore. So it's too early to have parts, but, within a year, it's like, well, that's obsolete camera. Why do you still have that piece of crap? Well, you made it. Yeah, but we got the new one now, Get with the plan, dude. People hate that. Can Sony, when people buy expensive cameras, and what's an expensive camera? Well, that's all relative, but I will put forth that anything, this is my girlfriend texting me, telling me she's going to the gym. Anything, anything above $2,000 is a relatively expensive camera. Not really, but I mean, most photographers like, yeah, that's a decent price camera. So $2,500, $2,000 above, somewhere around there, right? Okay. That's something else, that's something that Sony does, and it's irrefutable. Even the Sony fanboys know it's true. Stop making half-ass products. Sony makes a lot of half-ass products. Now, Nikon's made some half-ass crazy products too, yeah, but nowhere near as bad as Sony has. As I mentioned to you, I trash Nikon. Right after this video is done, I got a video trashing Nikon. So, all those people, you're just a Nikon fanboy. No, I'm not. Nikon don't give me nothing, okay? Sony needs to stop doing these things. They have no service. They have no parts. They don't do their own service. They obsolete their own stuff 9 months later. Their products are always done half-arsed. You know what a half-arse means? I'm using the word arse kindly. Half-arsed. People were talking... I tested that Sony A9 camera. Now, what was brilliant about that Sony A9 camera was the autofocus tracking in continuous... Only, electronic shutter only, and only with a select number of lenses, which Sony doesn't have any lenses anyway. So, the zone tracking for that camera was brilliant. The only problem was, you want to use a flash on that damn thing or actually use it for real photography, it's useless. What's real photography? Mechanical shutter? A flash? You can't use flash with electronic shutter. Do you know that? It's like 90% of professional photography is a flash! If they say, well, this $4,500 camera is good for outdoor or like dimly lit stuff, fine. That's good. As what's-his-face turned up, the guy with the large hair, what percentage of his shots had banding issues? I only got 2 shots with banding, and I posted pictures of them on my Flickr page. Banding issues when shooting into high flare. I never said I would buy the damn Sony A9. I said I would like to have an A9. In other words, if it dropped in my lap, I would be happy to have it. Of course, I got no glass for it either. I would be happy to have it for bright lighting, outdoor sunlight. The zone tracking on it is excellent. Most photography is, that's not most photography. Most photography is freaky-deaky dynamic range, poor lighting conditions, mixed lighting, stuff where you need a flash. The 5-frame, I found, and I gave the camera a horrible rating when I made my review on it. I gave it, like a 4 out of 10? The value on the camera is horrible. That camera is a one-trick pony. If you're only judging it on its zone autofocus tracking in sunlight or daylight balance, which you don't have daylight balance, you got fluorescent, you got other nasty light, the camera is undesirable. 5 frames per second mechanical shutter, that camera sucks. Not for $4,500. If it was $2,000 or $2,500, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is okay. Still, even if it was $2,000, $2,500, the camera would be obsoleted, and it will be. It'll be obsoleted 9 months, 10 months later by Sony. You know it, and I know it. Even the Sony people know. The hardcore Sony lovers know that camera will be obsolete. Well, hey, that's old news, man. Got to get the Sony A10. Be obsolete before the year's out. You know it, and I know it. Well, you can't get any parts for that thing, man. We've moved on. I can still get parts. You know how old this Nikon D3 is? 2008? I can still get parts for this thing. Ah! That's what, how many, it's what, yeah, 9 years, nearly 10 years later. I can still get parts for this damn camera. 10 years. That's what I call service. And the people that will fix it will be the company that made it. Did you hear that? 10 years later, nearly, still get parts for it, and the company that will fix it is the company that made it. That's called an ecosystem. Sony ain't got no ecosystem. Yeah, I use the word ain't. Sony ain't got no ecosystem. If you're smart and you have a brain, you'll know what I'm saying. If you're not, you're just going to call me a Sony hater, in which case you're an idiot, because everything I'm stating in this video is empirically and existentially valid. It's valid. It's substantial. It's palpable. You know what palpable is? Palpable is like when some woman checks for breast cancer. It's like, I feel a lump. Palpable means, yeah, it's there and you know it. Even the people that are hardcore lovers or fanboys, like, yeah, you know, I love Sony a lot, but this is true. This is true. No company's perfect. So if Sony wanted to be taken seriously, they could stop obsoleting their own stuff, actually fix their own damn stuff, and stop making half-assed product. You came out with a $4,500 camera, and this is a fact, with a mechanical shutter that is slower than an old, no longer made Fuji X-T1, which you can get for like $500. How fast do you think the mechanical shutter is on this Nikon D3 from nearly 10 years ago? I'm going to ask Sony that question. I'm going to ask the fanboys out there that question. How fast? Let's compare the 4,000. Right now this camera is going for like $800, $700 online. $4,500 mechanical shutter is 5 frames per second on the Sony A9, and this is a nearly 10-year-old Nikon D3. Shut the hell up. Facts are facts are facts. I don't care. Well, that's your opinion. No. Facts are one thing. That would be episteme. And feelings and opinions, or doxa, would be over here. Okay? I love it because the modern human being is not too smart. Especially Americans. They're just basically touchy-feely social justice warriors. Hey, those are your opinions. No, those facts and opinions. Okay? Got the facts over here. Whatever you feel is great. But these are the facts. I keep reminding these people, too, you do know you need a damn mechanical shutter for flash photography, right? You don't do flash photography with an electronic shutter. So, if Sony wanted to be taken seriously, they would need to do this stuff. Period. But they never have. The end of this video is the most important part, because Sony has never done this. Not with their computers, not with their TVs, not with their laptops. And they used to make really good laptops. I owned a couple of them. They don't do this. They've never done this. It's like, we're going to make a new product, blah, 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 here it is, best thing in the world, yay! We don't fix it, by the way. 9 months later, it's obsolete. Yeah, we got the newest thing. That old thing we were saying was the best thing in the world. It's obsolete crap now. You need to go out and buy the new one. Worst case of forced, is two words you need to learn, and it really should be a hyphenated word. Forced consumerism. Kind of like Apple is called planned obsolescence. Forced consumerism is a variety or an aspect, an attribute of forced obsolescence or planned obsolescence. It's called forced consumerism. Yeah, we've obsoleted that crap. You need to buy the newest one we've come out with, which is twice the price and only 15% faster. Sony! Yeah, Sony, girlfriend. Sony. Sony. Call me a hater. But you know what? I don't care, because those are the facts. Only about 5% of this video was my opinion. 95% of it was existentially valid, empirical, palpable facts. Deny it if you will. Refute it you cannot. Bye.